look at them go down. What some would call history of the big scary. Don't say that.
We have never been down 1,000 points ever, not even intraday on the NASDAQ.
The stock market just taking a big old nosedive this morning. Dow Jones is down about 1,010 points.
The Dow fell more than 600 points Friday on a weaker than expected jobs report.
5%. Meta, 6%. Amazon, 6%. Apple, 9% down.
Bidenomics is working.
Fears of a recession began after Friday's disappointing July jobs report.
Bidenomics is working.
A rise like that is historically a sign that a recession is imminent.
This is Bidenomics.
What you're seeing right now, the stock market, is what Americans have been feeling for the last 3 years. It's just a manifestation of it right now.
All that is called Bidenomics.
Is anybody surprised? Is anybody surprised to see what we're seeing? Are you surprised, Jarrett?
Oh,
my brother?
Not at all. Not at all.
I told you there was stuff coming. There's more coming. And I've been saying this for a long time. And anybody who's in the, awake, really, I wouldn't even say necessarily in the know, right? Because Jarrett and I are connected and plugged in to what's going on, but we're not necessarily in the know in the way that, you know, you would consider in the know in the typical political insider world or whatever. But I've been telling you this is coming, Jarrett. I think you've been saying the same thing, and you know, they've been saying it themselves. In fact, I pulled a clip this morning that I thought perfectly encapsulate the fact that they've been saying this themselves for a long time. Do you have that clip, Layla? Can we bring that up? Maybe she doesn't. Maybe she doesn't. Okay, we'll go ahead and skip past it unless you find it in the next 30 seconds. You can pop it up on the screen, Layla. But Jarrett, we got a great show planned. We got Steve coming.
Yeah. So excited for that. Steve's it's gonna be a fire show. Steve's amazing. And yeah, you're spot on what you're talking about, how we all saw this coming. The Dems knew what's coming. They tagged this Bidenomics. They thought it was going to be a great thing, and it was horrible. Just like Kamala's, all the policies she steals from Biden are horrible. Because again, we know she doesn't have any of her own policies. And guys, I'm so excited to be here today with my main man Mike. It's going to be a fire show. So tune in.
Awesome. So you know, the thing is, in these uncertain economic times, first of all, we say they're uncertain, but the Bible says they are certain, right? The Bible actually predicted this longer ago than I did, longer ago than anybody else did. And the thing we must show is leadership. And what's up, Brock Easley? Thank you for being a supporter. In the face of tyranny, we have to show leadership. And I think that there's not necessarily a better word to describe what's going on in America. We have Kamala running around saying that we have to be unburdened. So that essentially, you know, I forget the words she uses, but she's essentially signaling to her communist Marxist buddies that exactly who she is. She's playing this character of an idiot, and she does that very, very well, mind you. But she knows what she's doing. The communist Marxists in her party know what she's doing. And she's been paying people to pretend like they're fans of hers. Nobody's frankly, well, I shouldn't say nobody. Most people, vast majority of people that you see on the media, it's all fake. It's all smoke and mirrors. But we have to show leadership. Our families are counting on us. Our families are counting on us to show this leadership. Our children are counting on us to show this leadership. And quite frankly, our country is counting on us. So what does this leadership look like? And I think for every single one of us, it's different. For me, it's leading my family well. For me, it's standing up for the things I believe in, standing for our country, standing for my God, standing for my wife and my children, and not being afraid and not backing down, because that is true leadership. Leadership is not necessarily not being afraid. Bravery, courage is not being afraid. Courage is facing your fears and going forward anyway. And in the times that we're in, it's easy to be apprehensive. And my wife was asking me last night, hey, how can you watch what's going on in the world and take in so much media, so much social media, so much news and everything, and not be stressed out or worried or nervous or, all of those things. And there was a time some years ago where it did make me nervous. Watching everything that's going down made me apprehensive, made me concerned about our country. And I'm still concerned. But I came to terms with that when I realized, when I fully grasped and understood who was on the throne. And that's our Lord Jesus Christ. And he predicted this. The Bible predicted this. God told us this was going to happen. And the Dems have been saying what their plan is for a long time as well. So don't be surprised when we see these things coming. Don't be surprised when the world's at war, because we're going to be at war. The stock market's crashing. This shouldn't be news to anyone. We've been talking about the big R word, recession, and I'm going to say it because I see a lot of people online that are afraid to say it for some odd reason. And I don't quite understand it. Maybe it's because social media might censor it, right? Because we've been censored many times. But they're afraid to say the word. And I think part of that is the censorship. Part of it is because they don't want to face the reality. And the reality is we've been facing a recession for a long time. It's not something new because the stock market's crashing. That's just almost the final evidence of it. At the same time, the stock market crashing is a game. It is a plan. It's part of the plan. And don't think that there's not some type of agenda behind all of this, because that's exactly what it is. It's an attempt to steal from all of you guys, all of you watching, all of you out there, whether you're consuming this media live or whether you're watching it later. They're wanting to steal your hard-earned money. They desire to steal your future, and they desire to steal this country through this upcoming election and this fake momentum behind Kamala. Don't buy it. Don't buy it, guys. Get out there, continue to strive forward with the things that we've been pushing for months, years, decades. This country is a great country. It will continue to be a great country as long as patriots like all of you guys stand up. So, Jarrett, how do you show leadership in your life and especially as a father and as a leader in your organization?
I love your example about being a father and being a leader. And throughout these episodes, you have been showing that with the way you talk about your children, the reverence you have for your children, the time you spent. Like the second time we met, you had your daughter with you. You brought her with you to an event, something so she can learn conservative values. And you can tell that she appreciates these values because she learned them from her father and she understands them. And that's the type of leadership we do need in this country. And also, I like to lead by example. I don't think we should be hypocrites. Too many times we become keyboard warriors. We stay behind the screen and we just type. I like to be boots on the ground. I like to lead by example because I can't ask you to do something if I'm not willing to do it myself. If I'm not willing to risk it all for my Lord, risk it all for my country, how do I ask you to step up and do the same? That's why I love the founders of this country, which a lot of them were pastors, because that's what they did. They led, they took the biblical perspective and they ran with that, and it caused them to be great leaders. They rode into battle, they died in blood for this country. So if I can just be like half the leader those guys are, I feel like I did something for this world.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you guys are out there watching, go ahead, Jared.
I was going back to you. Growing up, who was an influential leader for you? Who was somebody that inspired you growing up?
There was two people actually, and obviously there was a great patriots throughout history, but two people that stand out in my mind that I always look back to, that I always remember, inspired me and motivated me. And even just recently, one of them has been in my life my entire life. One of them has been resurfaced in my life recently. And the first one is my dad. My dad encouraged me at a young age. He said, and this goes for every single one of you guys watching too, take this to heart. Like, chew on this, let it simmer for a minute. But what my dad said to me when I was in high school, you can do anything that you put your mind to. And that stuck with me, and it's stuck with me my entire life. And I promise you, it's part of the reason I've been successful. So if you're out there watching, you guys, the same way, can do anything you put your mind to. The second one was my football coach, Coach Bob. And a fire was reignited inside of me just a few months ago. And it's continually being stoked by the Lord and all these things. But it was reignited when a conversation occurred online. And so for me, my answer is number one, my dad. Number two, my football coach. So, yeah.
That's pretty awesome. My dad was a big influence in my life. He's a veteran. He taught me to love this country, I love my family, and to love the Lord. So, I love that when you have a strong dad in your life. And again, this is the importance of fathers. When you have a strong father in your life, they lead you. And even after they're gone, they're still leading and guiding you on how to be a man. And that's something that we all can use in America right now.
Amen. And as fathers, we're called to be that for our children as well. So, guys, if you're out there watching, make sure to follow us on social media. Follow us on all the different platforms. We're now on Rumble. If you guys haven't seen that, like our content and share it out, because we're trying to make a difference and make an impact. And you guys can help us with that by just simply sharing our content out to the world. Also, let you know real quick, we got some new merch online that you can get to 511media.co, not .com, .co/shop. And you can go there and you can get shirts, sweatshirts, and we're going to continue to add more merch. But go check that out, support us there. And Jarrett, let's get into topics for today.
Yeah, awesome. We got some great topics for you guys today. We got an amazing guest too. So we're going to be talking about election issues, how to stop election fraud, the flag and patriotism. You guys know I love the flag. Hopefully we're going to talk about Steve Bannon, how's it to own a small business in its current climate, and also taxes. Guys, we have an amazing topics today, stuff we're trying to get into. But first, we're going to shoot it back to Mike to talk about our amazing sponsor.
Okay, so I got two for you guys. First one is Covenant Coffee. If you guys haven't checked out Covenant Coffee, covenantcoffee.org, or two locations in Bakersfield, one across the street at Mohawk in California, and one on North Chester. Guys, go check out Covenant Coffee. They're doing some amazing things in this community, supporting our foster youth and keeping them from being a statistic. And the second thing I want to bring to you guys is the upcoming event in December. We have two upcoming events, and I'm going to let Jarrett tell you about the second one. But the first one in order of presentation, not first one in order of dates, mind you, is America Fest, happening in Phoenix in December. And Layla, do we have that video?
What you represent, your presence here, the largest multi-day event in conservative grassroots history. Is a message that will be heard by these people. Phoenix, Arizona, people from all over the country.
Remarkable because it brings everybody
One of my favorite of the year.
Energy, let us want you to see it.
The stakes are high. We have only begun to fight.
Guys, go check out AmFest, America Fest. Amfest.com, I believe, is a website. Right now, they're running a promo for 50% off of the tickets. They're one of our biggest supporters here at 511, and we're one of the biggest supporters in what they do. Jarrett, you want to tell them about the second event?
Yeah, guys, it's going to be an amazing event. The America Fest, first of all, is going to be fantastic. If you're watching right now, drop in the comments who you want to see at America Fest. And also, guys, we got another event coming out called Blexit Night of Faith. So Blexit Night of Faith is these great spiritual events taking place all across the country. and it's going to feature, praise and worship. It's going to have a panel of pastors. The amazing Christian conservative rapper Topher is going to be there headlining, who is fantastic. A friend of mine. If you guys need to follow him online, check out his music. Definitely, if you want some music for some kids, they love rap. You're trying to get them away from all that secular stuff, check out Topher. But guys, it's going to be amazing. It's going to be at Indelight Church on Saturday, September 14th from 5 to 7 p.m. And Indelight Church is this fantastic church in the heart of Philadelphia, ran by Pastor Jamie Santino. Amazing guy, amazing man of the Lord, has this fantastic coffee shop too, you should check out. But again, guys, you don't want to miss this event. We're only having 4 across the country, and this is going to be one of our largest events of the year. So it's going to be great, amazing Philly food, great praise and worship, and come to commune with like-minded people of God who want to work on their community.
And we're going to be making a big announcement there. Also, we're going to be launching something which we'll actually drop some hints at towards later in the show as well. But before we get to that, Jarrett, you want to welcome in Steve?
Yeah, sure do, guys. So we have an amazing show for you today. We have Steve Stern, the COO of the Flag Church, which is the largest provider of patriotic gear in the entire country. He's also host of the Stern American Show on Rumble. He's a veteran, which I love, and he's a small business owner for over 70 years. He's a co-host of tons of podcasts. He's an advocate for precinct strategy. He's an election security activist. He co-hosts, a lot of you have attended it, the National Election Security Meeting on Zoom. If you haven't been there, you should check it out. And he's just a networker in grassroots conservative rights. I mean, this guy does it all. He definitely leads by example. Everyone, and I welcome you to the amazing Steve Stern.
Well, thanks for having me on today, guys. And we'll talk about precinct strategy and election integrity. Those are the 2 things that we do. And how did I get involved in all that? So I'm the vice chair of the Broward Republican Executive Committee in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. About 20 years ago, I decided to join. It took 3 months before somebody actually answered the phone or returned the call. It took 3 months for me to get in. So that's 6 months of wasted time. Can you imagine that? Then I sat down at the meetings, and not a person came up to see me for 2 meetings or welcome me. I said, well, how could you join an organization? And this happened. So I went up to the chairman at the next meeting, and I said, I'd like to take over the membership chair. She said, fantastic, because nobody's doing it. I said, well, look, I'd like to answer the phone. So I got the phone. There was 186 messages that hadn't been answered. I called everyone, explained to them that the person that was supposed to be answering was not doing it 100%. They understood that. We got 35 new members. So the first thing I did was welcome everybody that came into the organization, because naturally, if somebody comes in, they want to know what they got to do. So we formed a little sheet of what you got to do when you become a committee man and a committee woman. So precinct strategy is the Republican Party. And Dan Schultz, who is the founder of precinctstrategy.com, he wrote this book. You can get it at Amazon. And I work very closely with him. We're going to tell you how we got involved with precinct strategy and why it's so important. So there's 400,000 slots for the Republican Party, and there's 200,000 people in there. Now, that's 4 years ago when we started. On how I got involved was I saw Dan Schultz on Steve Bannon. I called Dan up and said, hey, we're doing terrific in Fort Lauderdale. We've increased by 100 people. He said, hey, I got to get you on Steve Bannon. So about couple of weeks later, one of his producers texted me and said, hey, we'd like to have you on. This is a funny story because I got on, and the day I got on, I woke up about 3 o'clock in the morning. Like you said, you woke up this morning at 3 o'clock in the morning, and I started jotting down some notes because I had no idea what I was going to say. But he said, they had told me to talk about precinct strategy and your local Broward committee. So they told me I'd be on there at 10:15, and we do Skype. I had never gone on Skype before. And, you're going to get in front of 1 million people. You better know what you're saying. So I thought, I get up, wrote the notes. I go back to sleep. Well, I was up at 3 o'clock, never fell back asleep. Now I'm on at 10:15, and I'm sitting there and I'm watching the show from the background. And they text me, you'll be on at 10:30. Then they say 11 o'clock, then 11:15, then 11:30, then 11:45. And I figured, well, I'm probably not going to get on. Well, about 11:46, bam, they put me on. And, you're sweating there because you're listening an hour and a half and you've already forgot what you're going to say. So, but anyway, I told them the story and I was on for about 10 minutes. And about 2 weeks later, they texted me and said, hey, you did a great job. We had a lot of people want to know more information. So they got me on many times on Steve Bannon. And the sad part is, like I said, we had 200,000 people on there and we have now 200,000 people involved now. So that's a big problem because we talk about election security. We talk about people getting involved. So in behind me, you can see a couple of pictures of President Trump. About 2 years ago, on one of my visits, which is in the background on this side, I went up to his office. And the funny part about it here is 2 weeks before I went to see him, I had an appointment with him. They canceled it. So I figured maybe I'd never get to see him. But they did see me. He did see me 2 weeks after. And that was 2 days before the last election in 2022. And he asked me a couple of questions. The main reason I went up there is to ask him to ask people to get involved at his rallies. Because, when I get on your show or anybody's show, I ask people to get involved. We'll let you know how you can get involved. I figured if President Trump does it at a rally, we're going to get a lot more people. So Liz Harrington took me up there. She got President Trump to endorse precinct strategy. And
Nice.
on the other side, when I was there, let's see, we got, we're backwards there. So that was up in Fort Lauderdale about 4 years ago. And he said to me, if I knew about precinct strategy, a year ago, I would have won the election. Or 2 years ago, I would have won the election. And so we took pictures back there. There was 25 people that got into a conference with him. And he asked me about precinct strategy. He said, hey, make an appointment and come up to see us. And I gave my card to a lot of his people. I got up to see him again. And we talked about precinct strategy. And that's when he endorsed it.
Nice.
So,
nice. Well, I do have a question. You did mention before something about election integrity. So some of our viewers might not be familiar what election integrity is. Can you let us know what election integrity entails and how is it under attack in America today?
So that's what I was going to lead to. You must have read my mind. So when I was up there with Trump, he actually endorsed two of my candidates 2 days before the election, which I thought was unbelievable because I'm just a guy in the street. I'm no different than you guys. But he said, what do you think about the 2024 election? And I said, well, President Trump, I didn't think anything has changed. The same stuff is going on that happened before. And we all know what happened before. So I said, it's going to be a tough grind. He said, well, Steve, I know you do a precinct strategy Zoom. Why don't you do an election security Zoom? So I said, well, look, I don't really know too much about election security, but let me see what I can do. So about 2 weeks later, I went and started investigating who the top people were for election integrity. I started calling them. We had a list of about 100 people. I started calling all the precinct strategy people that I had all over the United States and said, well, who's important in election integrity? So they got me all those people, and we started doing an election security call every 2 weeks. And we did this now for about 2 years. So we had about 200 to 500 people on our Zoom meeting all the time. And about 4 months ago, I was on Steve Bannon. I had talked about it before, but we did things a little different. Like you can see on the bottom of my email, sstern1054@gmail.com. Well, I asked them to put it on the bottom of the thing because what I would do, I would come on the show like this and put my sstern1054@gmail up there and my phone number and everything and my flag shirt. And, you would whip it down. Well, people didn't have enough time to see it. So now when they put it on the bottom of the screen, I got 1,000 people came in and wanted to be on that Zoom meeting because it was that day. Well, can you imagine 1,000 people want the link? Because what we do is you email me and I send you the link. So I spent 4 hours emailing everybody. And also I asked them a little question. Why do you want to get on? And blah, blah, blah. And Steve says at the end of the show, and when I was getting off, he said, Steve, we're going to put this live on Getter. Well, we had 10,000 to 14,000 people on it that day. And I said, wow, here you got to learn something every day because I've been in business 70 years. You learn something every day. If you don't learn something every day, you're not going to get anywhere. So I learned that day that, hey, if we put this live everywhere, we're going to get a lot of people. So we just had one the other day and we had some top people on it. I'm going to tell you all about the election security, but we had 40,000 people on it. Well, people are starting to understand what's happening with the election integrity. So let's break it down. Who did we have on? the first person we had on was Captain Bannon, which is Steve Bannon's daughter. And we try to have her on all the time because Steve's in jail. So the family entrusted me in making a shirt called Stand with Bannon. And give you a good example of that because I usually wear it, but today I didn't. And, you know, when you're on backwards, it's hard to show. But if you want to get that, you can go to standwithbannon.com, standwithbannon.com. And why is this important? Because Steve always says the success of the country depends on you. You who are watching it, be a false multiplier. What does that mean? That means that you have to get involved and save the country. I can't do it by myself. You can't do it by yourself. So Steve has had many, many people on. He has one of the greatest shows, and a very intelligent guy, and they shut him down. So every time we have our meeting now, which is every 3 weeks, Maureen comes on, tells us what's happening with Steve, and just to let you know, your audience, he's doing very good. He's teaching there. He reads books. You know, he's losing weight, et cetera, et cetera. So who did we have on, and what are they talking about? So we had Ben Harnwell last time. Well, if you watch Steve Bannon, Ben is one of the European, he's in Italy, talks about election integrity. I was in Italy, and as I was there, I was wearing my Trump hat. I was wearing my Stand with Bannon. A lot of people went like this. And, you know, we don't realize that President Trump is so popular in many of these countries. So Ben told us one thing, that this election, President Trump goes around saying that the election is too big to rig. Well, Harnwell said that's absolutely not true. So why we're going to talk about election integrity and what that is, all the people that we had on are talking about the same thing. One, how we're going to get the illegals off the voter rolls, how we're going to get the dead people off the voter rolls. And we have a lot of different people. And one of the big people we have on is Linda Sinkowitz, fightvoterfraud.org. She's in Connecticut, and why I love her, she's been in my office 3 or 4 times. She has gotten people off the voter rolls one person at a time, because here's what happens. Let's say you take a state like Nevada, and you get them to take the people off the voter rolls. Well, they put them right back on. So the only way you can stop that is go to court and get one person at a time off, and that's the way it works. So she's got about 30,000 people off the voter rolls. But what she's doing also, she has a great data team, and they are offering to anybody that has an organization, 500 people have voted twice or have registered twice. So let's think about that. 500 people in every county. She's got a lot of people that have voted twice and have registered twice. Now, not everybody who registered twice is illegal, because what can happen is if you're in a county and you move, and if you don't take it off the voter rolls, it's going to still stick there. In some cases, they hold them on the voter rolls 10 years. So there's so much stuff going on with election security. Now, we changed it from election integrity to election security because there is no integrity in the elections anymore. Now,
you did mention previously, this stuff is mind blowing. You have so many facts and figures and actual proof of this taking place. Why is the media so against saying this is actually happening? Like, Mike, why do you think the media is not acting like this is real? They're acting like it's some great conspiracy that election fraud takes place. I was a challenger, and I'm always a challenger in my county because, like you said, Mike, you need to be involved. And I have witnessed that. I have witnessed people with wrong signatures, people trying to vote where they shouldn't. And they tell us not to believe our own eyes. Why is this another media lie, Mike, that's so prevalent in our country?
Well, we're going to take one person just to let you know. I work with her, and she has this particular thing, SaveMyFreedom.us, Michelle Swinick. She's in Arizona, and she has spent the last 2 years showing how the election was stolen. So if you go to www.savemyfreedom.us, you will see how the election was stolen in Arizona. And she has worked with Kerry Lake and a lot of people. So you say, well, how was the election stolen? Well, she was a judge in Maricopa County during the election, and she saw exactly what happened. And if you talk to Jovan Pulitzer or watch his show, you will see that in Arizona alone, there were 2 ballots. One ballot was this side, and one ballot was about an inch smaller. And you remember when the ballots jammed in Arizona, that's what happened. They were feeding these ballots in that were incorrect. So we need to go to the printers. So that's one place that people haven't even thought about. People who print our ballots. Because if you remember, in Pennsylvania, they were bringing the ballots in from New York. And you remember that truck that came in from the post office that went from one state to the other, and all of a sudden it backed in and they unloaded. And then all of a sudden, You remember the truck disappeared, and you remember they had this guy on. He told everybody what happened, and boom, he's gone. And the thing is that if you remember, about before Biden got elected, he said we have the biggest fraud team in the country. Now here's Biden telling you that this is happening, and you probably can go and find that clip and show it. And we should be showing that clip, and Trump should be showing that clip every day. Because, and what the problem is, I'm going to tell you what the problem is, and your people are going to understand this, that I work very closely with the RNC. So the RNC, the Republican Party, doesn't really truly understand our experts, because we have a guy, Captain Seth Kessel, who's been on a number of times. And here's the 30 counties that we're going to talk about that are going to make the difference in this election. It's the same counties as last time, and nothing's happening. In Pennsylvania, we had our teams out there: Allegheny, Erie, Berks, Philadelphia, Montgomery, and York. And the same thing's going to happen, because what happens is, this is in Atlanta, Detroit, Philadelphia. You know the cities. You live, and I think you live near Philadelphia. What happens is they control it. So there's nothing you can do, because the Democrats control it in such a big way that they can do whatever they want. And the judges who you bring these cases on, let's see this. After the election's over, it's very difficult to turn an election. So all this stuff happens, which the Democrats are doing. And I don't know if you heard, but just either yesterday or the day before, in Michigan, the governor put through something that says you can't even say that there was fraud. You can't even put in lawsuits that there's fraud.
Well,
So
that's a crazy that you don't have the your right as American to call something fraud. We're allowed to call out wrongdoings and evil. We're allowed to call people cheating us. To say that we have to be silent to make it into laws. I feel like we're living in 1984. This type of stuff's insane. And Mike, I'm just at a loss for words. This is just insane that we're dealing with this.
it's much bigger than you think, because here's the worst story. Biden a year and a half ago, he said the illegal aliens, we're going to let them vote. And how did he do this? Very simple. When the NGOs, which stand for non-government organizations, get the people from Texas when it comes to the border, or Arizona, they bring them into Illinois, New York, Michigan, Wisconsin, North Dakota, South Dakota. You can't even believe where they are. People don't even notice. There's 10, 12, 14 million that is spread all over the country. They're there, but nobody cares. Nobody looks at it. So what happens? The NGO gets the person, and they get him a driver's license. Now, once you get a driver's license, you can now be eligible to register to vote. Now, you get this card, and the NGO sits down. Most of it are Hispanic, so as you know. And what they do is they have them check off the thing, I'm a U.S. citizen. And they said, don't worry about it. You just say you just made a mistake. So now, once you send that registration in, and they're flooding Texas, they're flooding Michigan, they're flooding New York, they're flooding Florida, where I live, where people don't even realize what's going on. And it's going to be tough, because in the States, you can't even ask them when they go to vote if you're a U.S. citizen. So all these things have been done by the Democrats to put in place. So now let's see what we got. We got the dead people on the voter rolls, which a lot of states haven't taken off. If you go to California, I don't think they've taken a person off the voter rolls. They sent everybody a ballot. And you've heard of people where they said, oh, I got 6 ballots. You know what I'm saying? And all these things.
Steve, what do we do about this?
Well, we got True to Vote. We got Cleta Mitchell. We got everybody working on these things. And there's a lot of lawsuits going on. Bonji down in Florida just got a big lawsuit going on. The problem is that it's bigger and bigger and bigger. And,
So how do we stop it ahead of election time?
Very difficult. I wish I had an answer, because I've had 100 different election security people on, and we have experts in everything. They're trying everything, and there are states that are doing it. But when you guys are faith guys, there's 21 million of our Christians that don't vote. One of the things that we got to do, we can overcome this if we get registering the people to vote. So if you got 21 million people that don't vote, this can be, we can overcome this, because we're not going to stop this on the illegal aliens. Now they're trying. Congress is passing something. They're trying to pass something, the SAVE Act. We have our people all over trying, but we don't have enough people. Here's why I said you want to save my email, because you want to get involved, because there's a lot of people If you notice how the primaries have come out, the turnout is horrific. We've had 13, 15%, 20% people vote. People don't care. This is the big problem we got, is that the Democrats are on the offense, the Republicans are on the defense, and they are doing so many crazy things that we know about that the people don't know about. I'll give you a perfect example. Biden hired 100 people, young people, to be influencers on TikTok. So kids from 14 to 16 or 12 to 16. So when they go vote, they want to get them to vote Democrat. And we haven't stopped this. All the schools. So we're in serious trouble. Now, we have a lot of people working on us, and you don't hear a lot of positive things coming out, and that's the biggest problem. I wish I could give you an answer, but the answer is we need more people to be involved. Now, I will tell you this: you've got to be a poll watcher, poll worker. That's a really good way to stop this. And if you want to be a poll watcher, poll worker, just go to protectthevote.com. That's the RNC. There are 20% more people being poll watchers and poll workers. Now, people ask me, is it more important to be a poll worker or a poll watcher? Poll watcher, poll worker, 1,000%. Why? Because remember in Philadelphia, the poll watchers were thrown out, or they were pushed so far back they couldn't see a thing. But a poll worker is sitting right at that desk. So you want to sign up as a poll worker, go to the RNC, you can do that. So we have a lot of people helping us all over the country. I'll give you a couple of people. I know we only got limited time, but the first person I got to tell you, you want to get out and help President Trump, because a lot of people don't see the signs out there. I just got word in Michigan where there were a tremendous amount of signs for Trump last time. They're not there. So you want to go to TrumpForce47.com, that's TrumpForce47.com, and sign up. We need people to work, because the people, for some reason, and one of these things, what they've done to Giuliani, when Giuliani became the mayor of New York, if you remember, the first time he ran, crime was at 10%. The second time he ran, crime was at 40%. And he lost both times. But the third time, crime was up at 80%, and he won the election. Now, people don't usually get involved until it happens. So we've got fentanyl that's going crazy. Where are all the people stepping up for that lost their kids from fentanyl? We got 14 million people coming in through the border. Where's all the people stepping up for that? People don't want to be involved, and that's one of the problems that we work on. So everybody's getting involved. We got people all over social media, all over everywhere, asking people to get involved. And that's going to be one of the most important things, because you need volunteers. Without volunteers, you can't work. The difference between the Republicans and the Democrats are financed by all the people that have bazillions of dollars, and they get the people to work. They're pulling the people out of schools. They're getting them out of schools to vote. So we've got about a month left to really get involved. And the biggest thing is we're trying to get to Trump to ask people to get involved. So that's some of the important things. But we do have great people around the country. And if you want to get involved in the state, I'll give you a couple of them that are helping us. Tina Saline, she called me about a year ago and asked me if I could turn California red. She saw me on Bannon. I said, hey, I'm good, but I'm not that good. But I just tried. So what we did was we got 100 people together, of which now we got 10,000 people. So they're all working hard. I've interviewed at least 50 candidates out there. We've got to win the Congress back, because nobody's talking about the election. They're talking about President Trump. You never hear them talk about the Senate. You don't hear them talking about Congress. If we don't win the Senate and Congress, we're dead. Can you imagine if the Democrats cheat, take over the presidency, the Congress, and the Senate, and this country will never be the same? They'll pack the court. They'll put a state for D.C. They'll put a state for Puerto Rico, and it'll be all over. So we got a guy in Nevada, Paul Bodine. He's doing a terrific job. I met him at the Clay Clark event, learned something out there. We got a terrific guy here in Texas. Robert West, he did the 5-star plan, replacing politicians with patriots. He got 1,000 people involved. So we are getting people all over the country, and there's a lot of stories, but I want to give you a chance to ask a couple of questions because we get out, because, I'm a steamroller and I keep talking.
No, I can hear you talk all day. This information, it's important. It's necessary. And also, you know, you made a valid point. I used to work on campaigns, running like federal ones, different types of campaigns, and without solid volunteers, you would lose. So we need these volunteers. And so some group that I'm surprised is not volunteering more are small business owners. You know, they're affected by Biden's policies. They're affected by what's going on at the border. You know, as yourself, as a small business owner for a wonderful company, you know, I love the American flag. I love what you do. Like, how is all these things affecting your business? And what would you tell other small business owners who are hesitant to get involved?
Well, we've been lucky so far because the recession hasn't really hit yet. And, you know, I just got back from Europe, and they're starting to tell me it's getting a little soft. We know it's getting soft in the United States. Our business has not been affected as much as other businesses because we're in business 70 years. You know, to be in business 70 years, you got to go through a lot of hard times. And one thing about it is when you have an election, the flag shirt always does terrific. And we develop new items all the time and new sayings on the shirts all the time. So we also contact people. You know, if you don't have a passion for what you do and you can't get it, I don't care what kind of business you got, whether you got a big business, small business. But I can tell you this, that restaurants are hurting. You know, people go out to eat. You can see what the food prices are. I go to my local restaurant. I paid $1.95 for coffee. It's up to $3.95. You go to get a salad today. You know, I went to a salad place yesterday. It was used to be $9.99, $16.99. And you know, when I talk to people in California, I can't understand how they can't be a little wacko because gas prices are almost $7. Electric, you can't even realize this, is like outrageous. Taxes are crazy, and they're in debt. The state of California is in debt because if you're an illegal alien, you can usually get they're subsidizing a house, they're subsidizing food, they're subsidizing medical, they give you free school. So there's probably 3 million people that have come into California, and that's what happened. We're also lucky in Florida because everybody's coming to Florida. We went from minus 100,000 Democrats to plus almost 1 million Republicans because all the Republicans are smart. They're getting out of New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, and they're coming down to Florida because in Florida, we've got terrific stuff going on. So as a small businessman, I'm very worried because number one, people are the price of a building or the price of your rent is going up. Property taxes are going up. So many small businesses are leaving. You know what I mean? You have to be, you know, very smart in business. My son, I gave him most of the business and he doesn't sit still. He's developing all kind of new things that are, you know, taking us to another level. So we got to get the young people involved. And we have a lot of people in tech that are doing good. So where are we losing the jobs? You know, the recession would have hit a long time, but you don't realize that the government has given so many people jobs. And if you watch the job reports and everything, you'll realize that over the last year, over 1 million illegal aliens have gotten jobs. You know, they get their Social Security number, so they're taking away the jobs from other people. We have a lot of students that are not getting jobs. You know, they went to college, they got MBAs. You can see how many people that are getting let off because Intel just let off 15,000 people. All the tech guys are letting people off because they realize that we're going to a downtrend. All the AT&T and everybody else, you know, if you're on DirecTV or you get any of these things, the price of this stuff is outrageous. They keep increasing the prices, so people drop their memberships. So It's a big problem. Any other questions? Because, you know, as I said, I talk a lot, but I want to answer some things that you may have.
So, you know what, again, I love the country. I love that you make such patriotic gear. You know, a lot of our followers, you know, they have American flag, everything, hats, shirts, you know, everything. So what made you want to get involved in this type of business? And also, as a person who has such reverence for the American flag, how do you feel when you see people like recently burning the flag in protest or people destroying our monuments that so many people in this country hold dear?
So we did a big thing. 2 years ago, my son came to me and he said, hey, we need to do a Flag Day event. So I said, all right, I'm glad to do it. Now, when I do something, I do it big. So my son figured I'd do about 5 or 8 people. We'd have it on. So we started this Flag Day event 2 years ago. And we started for about 6 weeks ago. I went to Mike Lindell and I said, Mike, we want to do a Flag Day event. Can you put it on your network? He said, sure. And he said, you know, Brandon House will produce it. Well, it took a month, and Brandon House kept saying, I'm too busy, I'm too busy. So a month goes by, and he finally says to me, Steve, give me all your information today and we'll get it done, or I can't do it. Well, I said to him, hey, I can't give you all the information today. You know what I'm saying? You've been working, we've been working on this for months. So I went to Jovan Pulitzer. He produced it. Mike calls me up and he says, well, how come I'm not, you guys are not producing it? Well, I said, Brandon's pretty busy. Let me produce it. You put it on. He said, fine. So we had 46 speakers. Now think about this. I got 46 speakers, including Mike and including Bannon and all kind of patriots, singers, everything under the sun. I did this in 2 weeks. We put 46 speakers on, 9 hours on TV, on many, many social media. We had close to 1 million people watching it. And we talked about everything, about the flag and why people are doing this and that. So this year we did it a little different. We did 24 speakers. We did the history of the flag, because most people had no clue about the history of the flag. We did 24 speakers, 4 hours on TV. We went around the country and had people who had a flag out in front of them asked and took pictures of them why they had their flag up. So we have a lot of patriotic people out there, but we've asked a lot of people who are patriotic and who are veterans, let's get involved. Now I work with General Flynn, and General Flynn, works like me, and he probably works harder than me because he's everywhere someplace. And General Flynn said, well, we're going to get you some veterans. We're going to get you some other generals. Never happened. So we need to get the veterans out there because, a lot of veterans are on the street. You go to California, you see the veterans on the street, but yet the illegals are getting the stuff. So the big problem here is that Americans, we've lost our patriotism. Patriotism has gone down from 63% to 38%. And we can see this. You, me, love the country, but so many people, they don't love our country anymore. You know what I'm saying? Because we have received people from all over the world who want to destroy us. And when you start to see who's coming in, I'm going to tell you a fact that I learned that I can't even believe this. The Democrats, if they win this election, they're prepared to stop a revolution because, we're going to know that there's cheating going on and we can already see it happening. And if you notice who's coming into the country, all fighting age guys. Well, we've learned through Ann Vander Steel that a lot of these people are going to be a UN force that are being trained right now to stop the Republicans from rebelling if this happens. They're going to be working for the Democrats and they're getting paid right now and they're being trained. So many things are happening behind the scenes that we don't hear about because our communication is bad. So you asked, and why I talk about communication, because we have a guy in South Carolina called, he does something every day. I don't want everybody to look at it. It's called myscgop.com. Every day, Jeff Davis and his wife, Olga, send out a message, a newsletter to everybody that they have on their list in South Carolina. So imagine if we had a writer in every state and Mike, you said to me, Steve, I want to get this message out. We could get this message out to 1 million people. Or Mike says to me, hey, can you get me some more people to watch my show? So we could get this communication out. Now we have a guy that's helping us do this. It's yournews.com, which you may have seen. I brought him over to a lot of people at our convention we just got with Charlie Kirk. He's got a huge operation online. Go to yournews.com. He helps us. He puts articles up. We need to get articles up. But again, the biggest problem we have is getting people involved. They want you to do it. They want me to do it. And they want to sit back and enjoy their life. But it's not going to happen because you saw what happened in Venezuela in this election. Even the poor people who supported the president before went up against them. And you know how they cheated in this election because the opponent won, but Maduro is not still the president, right? So
it's complacency. There's so much complacency within our own party. But again, we want other people to do it. We only want to vote on major elections. We don't vote in primaries, but we complain about the candidate. There's so much more work we can be doing as a party, and we need unity. I love that you were at I see you at tons of events. I see you at pretty much every major event. You guys table there. It's really not a conservative event unless you guys are there. So I love what you're doing. And I see that unity. Me and Mike have talked about that, about how the party needs to come together because, we might have different perspectives on things, but as a whole, we want the country to move in the same direction. And that only happens with actual unity, but unity that's that's focused. You know, the left, they might have unity, you know, on public, but they're not focused. They're just throwing their stuff at a wall and see whatever sticks. And that's why we have such failed policies. And they're having the media just back them up too, which is horrible. Like, Mike, how do you feel about all this and what's going on? Like, you know, Steve, you said such amazing stuff and stuff we talk about all the time, but it comes to conclusion that we need unity and we need to put boots to the ground.
Yeah, absolutely. And Steve, I know you brought a lot of information. I want to thank you for everything you brought. And guys, we're going to make sure and drop Steve's links in the comments. Steve, I know you got places to be too, so I don't want to keep you over the time. But do you have like 30-second last word you want to add before we let you go?
I answer every phone call. I answer every email, which is amazing and if you need information, whatever state you're in, whatever you want to do, we'll get you connected. Doesn't matter if you want to belong to a club or you want to belong to the GOP. You know, there's a problem in the the Republican Party. We have rhinos, we have establishment, we have MAGA. So our MAGA people, which I'm in, you know, I support Trump, as you see in the back. If we were united, like you said, we would be able to take this over. But we have a lot of fighting in the Republican Party. So we need the MAGA to step up, because a lot of people call me and said, hey, I go to my local GOP, I can't get involved. They won't let me in. So that's why it's not the Democrats that have ruined this country. It's really the Republicans. And I hate to say this because I'm a Republican, because if we were united and we knocked out all these idiots that trying to stop us, and we have a lot of Republicans that are running for office that are really Democrats. That's another problem. So we need all our people who are sitting behind. I don't care if you give me an hour a day, an hour a month. Imagine if we get 1 million people to give us an hour a day. That's 1 million hours. You could do a lot of stuff. So every day I get new people. I will tell you this, there's a lot of organizations out there. And that's why I go to these events, because I speak to these people. But even the communication between myself and many of these people doesn't happen. You could have a terrific person in a state, and all of a sudden they get burnt out. Then it's very easy to get burned out, because we have people working 12 hours a day. I know them all. If you are in a state, I have great people in every state. We've got great candidates running in a lot of states. And just to give you one example, and this, you take this to heart. I got a call from somebody in Iowa about 6 months ago, and they said, you know what, this is crazy what happened in Iowa. And that's a Republican state. And they said to me, Steve, the people didn't come out to vote. And we have the school boards that were Republican for the last 40 years turned Democratic, because the Republicans thought that they had the school board for 40 years and it's not going to be turned. The Democrats worked behind the scenes. They came out, they wiped the entire slate in the state of Iowa, and everybody went bananas and said, how did this happen? The same thing can happen now, because we have a lot of people that say they don't want to vote because they don't think their vote's going to count. So look at how important this is. You've got to come out to vote, because we know they're going to cheat. They got the machines, they got everything else, but we need your vote, because if you don't vote, then the Democrats are going to laugh all the way to the bank. So if I tell you anything in my last 30 seconds, please come out to vote. We need 60 to 70% voting in order for Trump to win this election and to overcome what they're going to do to cheat. We need people that become poll watchers and poll workers, because like you said, I'm 83 years old. If I can do it, certainly you can do it. So again, if you want information, I've got it in every state. We'll help you get involved one way or the other. Thanks for having me, guys. Action, action, action. It's been a pleasure.
Thanks, Steve. Awesome to have you. We got all your information out there. We're going to stay in touch. So we'll talk soon. Guys, if you're out there, we wanted to kind of touch on a few more things as we kind of start getting into the wrapping up of this show. We got an announcement we're going to be making actually at the Night of Freedom in Philadelphia. You guys be watching for that, but it does involve one of the great men in both my life and Jarrett's life, Pierre Wilson. You guys, we got some exciting news to come on that. And watch our social media. We're going to be releasing some more information about what we got working on there. And then if you guys want to know more details, you can leave hashtag Unchained in the comments. Another little hint for you guys. Hashtag Unchained in the comments, and we'll make sure that we keep you in the loop on what's going on with Pierre. But guys, we got an awesome show that we're working on for you guys for tomorrow. We've already been working on it. we have a guest by the name of Mandy Payne, who's going to come and talk about some of the things going on with the border, with the fentanyl crisis and everything else. And I think we have a video of that, Layla. No, we don't have it. Okay. No worries, guys. But stay tuned. We got some awesome stuff coming for you tomorrow. Jarrett, you want to add any last words before we wrap this up?
Yeah, guys, just really think about what Steve was talking about. We need to be involved. We need boots on the ground. It's nice to wear a hat or a T-shirt or hang a flag, but if you're not putting your work out there and doing something, it's all for nothing. And also, don't forget about the Blexit Night of Faith taking place in Philadelphia on September 14th at In Delight Church. And shout outs to Antoine Gis. He's the vice president for the Blexit PA chapter. He joined us today watching. He's a new subscriber. So thanks for the comments and showing your support. And make sure everyone turns out for that event. It's going to be amazing. It's going to be a great time, good food, great worship, and we're all going to be there. So you can't miss that, right?
All right, guys. Thanks for watching. Have a great day. God bless.